What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and today we are going to be going over 10 plus 1, so 11 cars that are underrated, that are good at drag racing, that nobody talks about. That was a horrible intro, but you guys get the idea. We're going to be going over 11 because there's an honorable mention, but really it's a top 10 underrated drag cars. This isn't like dirt cheap drag cars. As a matter of fact, some of these are pretty expensive, but cars that you just don't see a lot being drag raced. And I want to go over this. I want to talk about, I really kind of fell in love with drag racing over the past couple days for some reason. I don't know why. I just started watching 1320 videos and I like them, so now I want to do a video on this. We're also going to do one on rally cars. I already made like the script for that. We're going to do the rally car one too. I'm super excited about that because I love rally racing, boys. But anyway, if you want to support the channel any more than you already are, head on over to www.smoothstance.com/shop to pick yourself up a hat, a shirt, or some shorts. And with all that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Alright, so coming in at number 10 is the Mercury Cougar. It's a bit of a different looking Mustang pretty much, and in my opinion, it looked a whole lot better than the Mustangs, okay? Like, those freaking taillights on the Mercury Cougar go hard. The headlights, the hidden headlights in the old muscle cars are probably the coolest thing to ever come from America. I just have to say it. Like, the 69 Charger, the 69 Camaro, all those old muscle cars with the hidden headlights, and the Mercury Cougar obviously is a big one. That was just so cool. It was just such a cool thing. Why did they get rid of that? Anyway, the Mercury Cougar came with a 4.7 liter V8 making 225 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive, of course, because it was a muscle car, and every muscle car has to be rear-wheel drive. Huge shout out to America for doing that. And these are, like I said, a Mustang with some cool bits on it and a bit more comfortable, and obviously people drag race Mustangs all the freaking time. So why not do it, but with more comfort? That's literally the whole like selling point on the Cougar. It makes no sense to me, dog. They're kind of pricey, yeah, but still, people are still drag racing like 69 Camaros, and those are expensive too. Next up is a car that people are probably going to call me a dumbass for saying, but it is any Subaru WRX whatsoever. You see people commonly think that WRX are incredibly unreliable because of their head gasket issues, and you may be a little bit right there, but they also make for some very good power motors. If you deal with a head gasket issue, these things can make some decent power. Most of them come with a 2.5 liter turbocharged flat 4 that makes around 200 to 300 horsepower depending on what year that you decide to get, but they are all going to be all-wheel drive, which is odd because most drag cars are rear-wheel drive, but all-wheel drive kind of like sacrifices the weight advantage in order to give a much better launch off the line, because now all wheels are rocketing off the line, which is incredibly necessary when drag racing. And on top of that, your car's already pretty light anyway compared to the competition. Like, these muscle cars are heavy, and so driving a WRX down the drag strip, it's going to be light. Just be sure not to leak vape juice on the track. They don't like that. Coming in at the fabulous number 8 spot is the wonderful Audi S4 B5. This car, man, is like the freaking jack of all trades, to be honest. They can do whatever it is that you want them to do, and that's because it's a freaking Audi, buddy. All right, Audis are they just like have the best of all worlds combined into them. Sure, they're not the most reliable cars, but who cares, buddy? You're drag racing. You don't need it to be reliable. This car comes with a 2.7 liter twin turbocharged V6 making 250 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive. And that motor may be pretty unreliable, I will say, but it is also one of the best motors out there to build to be just an absolute monster. There are so many videos out there of people that put like 4 freaking turbos on this thing, and honestly quite often, and they make some absolutely ridiculous power. And since it has that all-wheel drive platform behind it, the Quattro platform, once again it launches off the line like crazy. Okay, but I hear you loud and clear, buddy. You want an American muscle car if you're going to be drag racing, because I mean, they're built for that. They just go together like white on rice. Well, if you're incredibly rich and for some reason watching my video, then pick up a Dodge Coronet Super B. These are not only one of the most freaking beautiful muscle cars to ever exist in my opinion, but they also just have an absolutely insane motor to build. It is a 6.3 liter V8 making incredible for its time 335 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive, of course. And if the looks don't get you, then the Hemi big block freaking V8 monster trucking yeehaw under the hood absolutely will. These things are absolute weapons, and sadly the only reason they aren't raced often is because they cost like freaking $5 million for just a door handle of one, so it kind of sucks. On top of that, they are pretty heavy, but like I said before, a lot of those muscle cars are heavy, and people still find a way to make it work. Next up, we are going back to the country of Germany for a minute to talk about a car that literally broke records when it came out. It is the BMW M5 E39, which, like I said, was once the fastest sedan to ever be built. That is insanity. And that's all thanks, we can thank the freaking wonderful 4.9 liter V8, making an actually incredible 400 horsepower to the rear wheels. Think about how much 400 horsepower is back in the early 2000s, bro. That's literally like supercar levels of horsepower back then, and it still holds up today. Like, there are still a lot of BMW 3 Series today that don't make anywhere close to 400 horsepower. On top of that, the motor was incredible for tuning too, so you could easily get more power out of it if you do get bored of the 400 horsepower. It is just mind-blowing that nobody drag races like any BMW, to be honest, when some of them make some insane power. But we are now into the top 5, and I saved this amazingly huge car for this spot exactly. The Chevrolet Impala SS 1964 was incredibly popular due to its like lowrider phase that it had, but boy oh boy, you guys massively underestimate it when it comes to its drag racing game. Like, sure, all these guys like to just slam them on the ground and give it like 5 million feet in the air due to hydraulics, but nobody ever drag raced them, and it just blew me away. It comes with an insanely massive 7 liter V8, making a once again insanely massive 390 horsepower to the rear wheels back in the 60s. And now, yes, this car is incredibly heavy, so getting it to be light enough to make use of its power is going to probably be your biggest challenge. But if you can bring yourself to rip apart a Chevy Impala and take all the old nasty bits that you don't need on it, then it absolutely can be done. Also, like the Coronet that we talked about earlier, these things are pricey as hell, so just keep that in mind. Number 4, my good sir, has got to go to the wonderful Mazda RX7 FB, which, to be honest with you, the whole Mazda RX7 line is pretty good for drag racing, but this one is the cheapest and most slept on car, so that's the reason why I put it here. But if you want to like get an FC or an FD and drag race that, you absolutely can. It's kind of the same thing with the FB, to be honest. They're almost all exactly the same, except the FB is a little bit lighter, so I will put that out there. But the motor is actually pretty freaking horrible. It's a 1.1 liter 2-rotor rotary engine, making only 100 horsepower to the rear wheels, but that's not what makes this car good. It's good for an LS swap. It's an incredibly cheap, incredibly lightweight sports car with tons of engine room for an LS. And before you say, well, what the LS that's good then. You are right. But 9 times out of 10, the motors have been swapped. Just look at all the Fox bodies that have LSs in them, okay? Yes, the LS is, I guess, the part that makes it so good, but, you know, it's the platform that really pushes it to the limits. Third place, bronze medal, though, has got to go to another American-made muscle car. It is the freaking Pontiac Firebird 4th generation. This one really blows my mind because they're pretty much a more aggressive-looking 4th-gen Camaro, and since nobody likes the 4th-gen Camaro for its looks, you'd think that these would take the crown for drag racing, but nope, not at all. The 4th gen Camaro is much more popular than a 4th gen Firebird in terms of drag racing, which is kind of weird. It comes with the exact same motor, a 5.7 liter V8, making 305 horsepower to the rear wheels, and that motor was a freaking LS1, boys, so you can easily get that power to an incredibly higher number if you got some money. So before you buy that freaking dirt cheap but incredibly ugly catfish Camaro, buy one of these instead. They are a little bit more expensive than a catfish Camaro just because they do look that much better, but in my opinion, I think it's worth it. It looks so much cooler. Second place is arguably the most odd one on this list. It is the Honda CR-V, but specifically the first 2 generations, because those are the ones that came with K20s in them, and that's pretty baller in case you don't freaking know. The K20s, call the cops, buddy. That motor is a 2.4 liter inline 4, making 200 horsepower, and the car was all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, but you should probably get the all-wheel drive one because they are both incredibly cheap no matter what, so it's not like you're saving money if you get the front-wheel drive one. And yes, I do know that it's an SUV and you'll have to deal with the weight and aerodynamics of the car, but if you gut the interior, slam it on the ground, they're actually kind of lightweight, bro, and they make for some decent drag cars. Just make sure that you deal with the ride height issue like first, or else way too much air is going to get underneath your car and cause liftoff, if you know what I mean. The honorable mention for today is a car it's getting its fame recently, but still it deserves so much more. It is the freaking Chevy SS or Pontiac G8. They're pretty much the exact same car, just different brands, and they're both incredible. They come with a 6.2 liter V8, making 415 horsepower to the rear wheels. Yes, you heard that right, it is 415 horsepower. And once again, since they are a Chevy product, that motor is an LS, so you can easily get more power out of them if you want to. It's just an incredible platform. I think it shared the same motor with the C6 Corvette at the time, which is insane. But first place is yet again another GM product. Listen, I promise I'm not some like GM fanboy. I just kind of think that they have a very strong lineup. This one is the Chevy Camaro 3rd generation. You see these cars that came out during a horrible time for American muscle cars, so people thought that the engines were weak. And to be honest with you, the engine is kind of weak. It's a 5-liter V8 that makes only 210 horsepower to the rear wheels. But once again, this is another very good candidate for an engine swap, boys and girls. They are probably not only the cheapest Camaro you can buy, but the cheapest muscle car that you can buy. So if you want something like incredibly cheap, and I mean dirt cheap, like these cars are going for like $1,000 for a chassis, and that's very, very cheap. If you want an incredibly cheap platform that literally nobody mods because they're afraid of engine swaps for some reason, then get this car and just buy a junkyard LS for like $700, and you have like a $2,000 freaking drag monster. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more. I want to talk about how you guys obviously very much like the deep dives videos that I've been doing lately, one on the Prelude and then the next one on the Soarer. You guys really like those views are going crazy, so thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the new subscribers. Hello, my name is Mark Roden, welcome to the channel if you're new here. I'm definitely going to keep doing those for sure, because obviously they're massively helping me, and you guys seem to love them. So if you guys want to do them, hell, I'll do them, man. But let me know some other cars that you want to see. I'm thinking the next one's going to be on the Murcielago, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I might do something weird like an LS 400, or honestly something like very, very weird like the Subaru SVX. Even though I know those won't get as many views as like a Prelude, I still kind of want to do them because they're very underrated cars that nobody talks about. And also, there's a very funny story about the Nissan 370Z, so I kind of want to make one on that. But anyway, guys, yeah, thank you guys so much for all the support on those. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm going to start calling it deep dives, by the way. Somebody left a comment the other day about that, and I was like, that's a good idea for a name. They said to name it deep dive, so I might call it that. But thank you guys for watching those. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys, obviously, for watching this video. I appreciate it once again. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.